January the 18th, 2022. Guys, this is not something I really enjoy talking about after the weather we just went through, but I guess we're going to have to deal with it. And this is showing icy spots, is what they're calling it, AccuWeather, Thursday night. Now, tomorrow's Wednesday, so you got a little time to prepare. But through Friday a.m., brief period of sleet, freezing rain, slippery surfaces, mainly bridges and overpasses. And that will depend on how much precipitation that we get with this. But notice, it's tracking much further south than what we just saw that came down through through central Mississippi and central Alabama. And that was snow and not ice. And it's reminiscent of the path of the ice storm last year that was devastating. I mean, here where I'm at in central Mississippi, I had to take a pitchfork and shovel and bust about 2 or 3 inches of ice off the porch and back deck so that you could even walk and get out. It got really cold after that. It stayed frozen. It came in with heavy rain, and so that's what I'm saying. We don't know how much precipitation yet. They're just kind of putting this information up. But again, Thursday night through Friday morning, now just think about San Antonio, Austin, just north of Houston's what it's showing now, coming in north of Baton Rouge and into central Mississippi, south central Mississippi. So now, what will that mean for Saturday? This is Friday. What about Friday night? This is Thursday night through Friday a.m. So this is going to spread a little further to the east. We're getting an Arctic blast dipping down again, and there's going to be 2 more coming that we know about. But again, this is the first one. Then another one may set in for the weekend. They're saying that roads and sidewalks could be just wet in some neighborhoods on this icy spot thing and along some stretches of highways. But conditions could be icy in other areas, such as elevated surfaces, including bridges and overpasses. What they're not mentioning is that will also affect limbs on trees and power lines. Now, as this is going on and we start to see that ice, later in the week, possibly starting Friday, you got a fresh batch of cold air, and this is unusual. Usually it comes from a little more from the west, but we got a front that stalled all the way out into the Atlantic. See right here, and it's calling it the front is stalling here in just off the coast of the Carolinas. And so that's going to push all of this cold air back down south. A lot of you guys that went through the ice just a few days ago, you may be seeing that again. But again, they're calling this a late week storm setup. Now, this is the snow accumulation from Thursday night through Saturday night. Storm max total 12 inches. The dark blue is 3 to 6, and this is coming down around Richmond, down to Charlotte, and back south of Virginia Beach. 1 to 3 inches in the lighter areas. And guys, I'm not sure. It depends on your elevation, how much is melted and things like that. We had a very nice day today here. We got very close to 60 degrees. Let me turn and look at my weather station. Central Mississippi is now 52 degrees. The real feel of 49. And so it's been very pleasant. Got a lot of work done outside. But again, this will depend on your elevation. They're saying most of the time there's a fresh air injection of cold air associated with high pressure that builds across New England, and a major storm follows for the Northeast. He says, adding that this setup will be in place again this time around. So they're saying if the weather that we're talking about coming through Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, it's all going to be affected at the same time. Notice this is Thursday night through Saturday. So the ice situation that starts in Texas starts Thursday through Friday a.m. So it's going to be moving in this direction. Now, again, Thursday night, and this goes through Saturday, ice storm. This is coming out of Georgia, through Columbia, South Carolina, up to Greenville, North Carolina. Down trees, power lines, dangerous travel. Impact significant in the darker purple, the lighter is some impact. So guys, I've talked about grand solar minimum for a long time, many years, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing extremes that build up. And if you don't forget that some of our coldest winters ever have been with a lot of volcanic eruptions that year or the year preceding it, putting a lot of ash into the air. And that's what we're seeing all around the planet. And I want to show you something that's very interesting about the Tonga volcano. Check this out. Now, guys, this is a pressure map, and look at this wave that's moving from the east coast to the west coast, and this was from the volcanic explosion in Tonga. And many will say, well, that's going the wrong direction, guys. It went around the planet. Notice your timestamps up here. This was midnight that night, Eastern time. Check it out, 12:30, right there. And the wave had went both north and east, and we saw it hit California and go up through Hawaii. But the other side of that circular movement that went out like a pebble, a ripple in a pond from a pebble or a rock, guys, went around the planet, came back across starting at midnight. Check that out. Went through here until 5:50 a.m. Eastern time on the 16th. Now, many people have speculated that volcanic explosion looked like a nuclear bomb. We may never know. But what you're looking at now is not Tonga, but this is Mount St. Helens. Check out the same mushroom-type formation there. This is 1980, and I think this image was shot somewhere from the area of Portland, but very powerful. Look at that. Now, Tonga was saying as many as 100 megatons of explosives. And let me say this about there's been a lot of speculation, and as we look at that, and this is Mount St. Helens from space, you can tell that our satellite imagery has improved definitely from that and what we're seeing from Tonga. But this again, look at this explosion. So it doesn't have to be a nuclear explosion to do something like this, and this is from this was in the Kuril Islands, which is called Rayakoke Volcano. Check that out from space, from the space station, as a matter of fact. So even though that there was very little possibility, I think, that it was a nuclear explosion, and this is the island that the volcanic explosion just outside of Tonga happened. This island does not exist anymore. These satellite images from 2021. They said there might be something sticking out. They can't really tell yet. They're kind of afraid to get too close to it, but it wiped this island out. And you can see where the crater is from the previous eruptions. But I want to say this about the radiation possibilities. Guys, this area was heavily radiated by the U.S. and France as they were testing nuclear weapons. You've seen the largest explosions ever all through this area. So you got a tsunami pushing everything off the bottom along with that earthquake, and then shock waves sending everything via the tsunami and the whatever stirred up in the air around the planet. Now this was a few days. This goes back, let me see, this is January 6th. I think the volcano was the 15th. It was already steaming. Same picture you just saw before, but it was steaming then. So there was an early warning, but you can tell that this has been happening off and on because the entire island here is covered in gray ash. And guys, by the way, Tonga and those areas heavily hit. Green paradises are now gray ash covered. And that's all the water is polluted. You know what I'm saying? With the volcanic ash, you can't drink it. And all of their fiber optics are cut. So, and I think to get to Tonga, the fiber optic cables come under the sea from Fiji. And I read the report that where they come in through there's a lot of coral reefs, and any disturbance undersea could cause those cables to cut across that coral and cut them in half. So there's very little information. Australia, which is kind of scary, sending planes in, but they had to, they couldn't get the I think the C-130s in with water and things like that because the airport was covered in ash. And so they had to get that cleaned off because you can't suck that ash up into those jet engines before they could bring in those type of supplies. But again, it's amazing that we saw the other side of the pressure coming in again. Went around the planet, kind of blows away the flat Earth. Hate to say that. I'm not insulting anyone, but I've seen too many images from space, from dozens of satellites, its space station, everything else. That we have a globe. We're not on a flat Earth with a glass dome over it, guys. But anyway, so from that point at Fiji, went northeast, struck the California coast after passing through Hawaii. You got places in Mexico, down through there, and other, all along our west coast. But the other side of that explosion went around the globe, came back across Europe, and through our east coast, all the way across our nation. But back that up and look at those pressure changes. And if you look at it very closely as that wave's moving, look, you can see where all the other, there's tiny circles that are almost transparent where the stations are, but they lit up. And also something to look at is that it looks like the southern section, or the south section of the wave as it moved across our nation, was stronger than the sections in the north. Just look at the intensity. But again, we've got another wave of very cold weather, conditions you don't want to be out traveling in. So start stocking up now. You've got tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Make sure you got it, whatever you need for extra firewood, some starter, whatever you got to have, some extra food, water. Always fill up your bathtubs when you think you may get frozen pipes, things like that. Or you can lose power from the water company itself. But do you remember the fiasco we had last year? Let's don't get caught in that again, guys. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.